Hjertelig velkommen til et nytt program her på Israelkanalen. I dag så tar jeg med dere til et besøk til en organisasjon som vi i Israelkanalen har støttet de siste årene, nemlig Jerusalemite Initiative. Og med meg her så har jeg en av grunnleggerne, Amit Barak. Welcome to the program, Amit.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
You have to tell me a little bit about the background. What was the idea behind your organization?
So I was born and raised in Nazareth. That's the Jewish town next to Nazareth. So I grew up knowing Christians, Muslims, minorities around Nazareth in the Galilee. I had some Christian neighbors. I had some Christians in school. And I grew up in a very Zionist home, very Zionist family. And I believe, from a Zionist perspective, that if you live in a society with minorities that wants to be part of the society, wants to be part of the state, wants to build the state together with the majority, with the Jewish majority, wants to strengthen the society, wants to, fix the problems. Israel, like any other place in the world, is not perfect. You all the time needs to improve. But if there are minorities who wants to do it together with you, to improve, not just to criticize in order to break things, but to criticize in order to improve, I believe we should give them a place. And I see it as a Zionist. For me, it's very important to take them hand by hand and to do it together. And in 2012, I met Christians from Nazareth and Father Gabriel Naddaf. He led a movement that called the Israeli Arabic-speaking Christians, mostly the youth, to volunteer into the IDF. Arabic-speaking Christians in Israel, like Arab Muslims, they are not obligated by law to serve in the IDF. They can volunteer if they want, but most of them didn't. Most of the Christians didn't, just around 35 every year, that's it. Out of 1,800 that graduate high school. And in 2012, Father Gabriel Naddaf with a few other Christians officers, they made a loud and clear call for Christian youth to volunteer to the IDF after they saw the persecution and actually the genocide against Christians, mostly in Syria, in Iraq, but also the persecution against Christians in Egypt, also in the Palestinian Authority. They decided that Christians should take a clear stand with the state of Israel, with the society, and they said, this is our homeland. We were born here, we are growing up here, we should take part in defending Israel. Look what's happening with our brothers and sisters all over the Middle East. So we should stand with our brothers and sisters, with the Jewish people, with the Druze, with the Circassians that serves in the IDF. And we should take part in defending our state, our homes, our churches. And I heard about it, and I began to help Father Gabriel Naddaf and his people, and I became the project manager of his organization.
Yeah. Wonderful. But Israel is, one democracy. You regard the Christian minority, you don't suppress them here. But when you go to the Arab world, a lot of bad things has happened to the Christians, as you say. When we saw what ISIS did, they were just killing Christians, and many Christians have left already from the Middle East. Lebanon was a Christian country a few decades back, but what is it today? And you also see from Bethlehem, a lot of Christians are leaving from that place. What is the situation here in Israel when it comes to the survival of the Christian minority?
So since 1948, when Israel was established, the Christian community in Israel is growing all the time growing. They live insecure in a democratic state, open society, we can say. They have freedom of worship, security, everything. You can find Christians in the judges in the Supreme Court. You can find Christians director of hospital, in the academy, in sport, in the culture, high tech. In every aspect of the labor market and of the Israeli society, you can find the Christians. But they all did it as individual, as their own career. The change that Father Gabriel brought was that they do it, they integrate, they do all that, but as a collective, as a Christian community, as Christians first, as Israeli Christians. And that was the change, not only as individual, as Israeli Christians. This is the change that takes stand with the state of Israel. And the Christian community in Israel, as I said, growing, and it's also the most educated group in Israel because they have the private schools of the churches, which is a private educational systems that makes them the most educated in Israel, and they have a good life. Most of them have good life in Israel, unlike around us. In the early 20th century, the Christians in the Middle East used to be about 20% of the population. Today there are only 4% left, and as you mentioned, we can see that even here, 5 minutes from where we are sitting here in Bethlehem, the change from a Christian city to a Christian with a majority of Muslims, and Christians keep living Bethlehem and the cities around.
But then you met Father Gabriel and became part of this organization. So what experiences did you get from that work?
So first of all, I got to know the Christians in Israel and Christianity and Christians in the Middle East much better than I knew before. The different denominations, the different identities. It's very, very interesting, the history, the culture. And I found out that there are many Christians in Israel that want to take part, but they didn't do it because sometimes you need a leader, sometimes you need someone charismatic that will be a kind of symbol. And that was Father Gabriel and the organization that gave the inspiration to many other quiet voices to speak loud. So I found out that they were waiting for someone to call them, and they were waiting for us, for the Jews in the Israeli society, to open the doors and to give them our hand and to show them, come on, join us, let's build the state together.
And then you met your partner in this organization, Elias Zarina. How did you connect?
So one day Father Gabriel sent me to Jerusalem. He asked me to meet Elias Zarina. Part of the organization that Father Gabriel established, part of its activity was to help Christians in Israel with many problems. Because of the importance and the change that organizations brought, Father Gabriel made a lot of good relations and connections with Israeli authorities, with the government, and he could help people solve their problem. And he sent me to meet Elias in Jerusalem, also to speak with Elias about something personal, and also to see if we can work more with Christians in Jerusalem, which is they are different than Christians in the Galilee, in the north, or even in the center of Israel. I think Elias will speak about it. And I came to Jerusalem. I met Elias, and that's how we stayed in touch. In 2017, Father Gabriel Naddaf decided to close his organization and go back to his church to build his community in Yafia next to Nazareth. And Elias and I decided that we should take the challenge to establish an organization that will focus only on the Christians in Jerusalem. We'll try to bring the change that we did with Father Gabriel in the north to bring it to Jerusalem. And we established the Jerusalemite Initiative, Jews and Christians together from Jerusalem mostly. And we are trying to do good, you know.
Yeah. What is when you look back for the time that you have been doing this, what do you think about what you have accomplished?
First of all, the voice. Christians are speaking more about their Israeli identity, also about their historical roots. Some of them, those who understand and who explore a bit back to the roots before the Arabs and the Muslims occupied the area. And but the most important is that they feel they have a place in the Israeli society. There's still a lot to do, but they know if they want, they have a place. They can integrate, they have a voice, they have people that will help them with them together to build together. I think that that's the big change. They became more Israelis and more aware to their historical roots and to the bridge between the Jewish people and between Christians, between Judaism and Christianity, aware that we have shared history and we have common values and we need to stand together.
Yes, amen. I want to just say thank you for your time here, Amit, and I wish you the best for the continuation of this program. Now we're going to meet your friend, Elias Zarina. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Ja, da har vi gjort et lite bytte her. Nå har vi altså møtt Amit Barak, og vi skal snakke litt mer med den andre delen av Jerusalemite Initiative, Elias Zarina. Welcome to the program, Elias.
Thank you, Hakun. Welcome to the Holy Land.
Thank you. How did you get involved in this? We have heard Amit telling his background and story.
Yes.
How is it that you came in contact with Father Gabriel?
So in the beginning, I met Father Gabriel for a personal issue, and I wanted what he can suggest for me and to get from him a directions. As a father, I came from the Greek Orthodox Church, so he's also my father for my church. And we talk and negotiate about the future of the youth Christians in Jerusalem. And he decided that it's better to meet me and Amit, because Amit is living around Jerusalem, near to Jerusalem, and to try maybe to establish a department which is connecting with the forum for Gabriel Naddaf at that time, for Jerusalemite community, for the Christian in Jerusalem, to try to help them as much as we can, because it's a major and it's a big challenge in Jerusalem, especially that the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian ideology and the Arab ideology is still very high level in the East Jerusalem, and the youth just getting a lot of pressure from that side not to integrate on the Israeli society. So we took around maybe 1.5 years up to 2 years just to learn about what they want, what they need, how can we help them, what affect them badly not to be integrated with the Israeli society. So we find that the language, it's the barrier between the Christian community, the Jerusalemite community, and the Israeli society. So we started to plan how can we give them educational and give them more education about also their roots, about the roots of the Judaism and the connection between the Judaism and the Christianity. Unfortunately, I came from a Christian church school, which is called Talita Kumi. It's Evangelical Lutheran school next to Jerusalem. And also the churches inside Jerusalem, they have a lot of schools. Most of them they have, for the Catholic it's more. The Catholic maybe they have more than 5 schools in Jerusalem. All those schools, it belongs to the churches, but they still using the Palestinian educational material for their students, which is effect so bad on the youth, the Christian youth, that all the information about the connection, the roots of Judaism and Christianity, it's hidden from us. What I learned that Jesus was a Palestinian. When I read my Bible, I figure out that he was a Jewish, he's the Messiah of the Jewish people, he came for the Jewish people, he learned in a Beit Knesset for the people around the Galilee and the Samaria and Jerusalem, Judah. So this connection, it's hidden from us, and there is a purpose for the Palestinian and for the Arabs to keep us as a playing card. When they want us, they can play it. When they don't need us, we are beside, and they continue their life. It's hard for the youth that there is so much pressure. They want to integrate, they want to serve a national service, military service, police service, but unfortunately this pressure just makes them decide to be natural, not to belong to this side or to other side, and to be in the middle and just to buy their peace. And this is why we start to act there is a motivation on the youth that they see their future with the Israeli society. It's a closer mentality for the Christians and the Jewish. They are the same mentality. The mentality, by the way, of the Christians in Jerusalem and even in Bethlehem and the Palestinian Authority area, it's more Western mind, it's more Western mentality. So this was the first step for the connection, that we provide them a Hebrew course. We made it for the last 4 years. This year, 2020, we will continue the last year Hebrew course. We made it on the Zoom because it was the COVID pandemic. And we will continue also this year after the Easter and the Pesach. We will continue the second level. It's important to learn them also not only the language. We should learn them also the culture.
But the language is, what actually binds together the society. And if you cannot speak the language
Exactly.
of the society, then you are outside of the huge community, right?
For me, what I told all the youth in Jerusalem, your key to enter the Israeli society, it's the language. There is a virtual barrier. It's only a virtual. If you speak the language, you can integrate, and you are most than welcome as a Christian in the Israeli society. We have a lot of opportunity to succeed and to make our dreams real, because it's a democratic state, and we have a right for worship and the right for anything that you want it. You can have it under the law. So if you look just for the neighbors here, by example, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, it's not the same life for the Christians in Israel. It's much difficult, especially the last decade, the last 12 years. A lot of, it's kind of genocide for the minorities in those areas like Syria, Lebanon, Al-Qaeda, Daesh, ISIS, all those radical terrorist organizations just affect on the minds of the local Christians in Israel. We need to defend our historical monuments, our churches, our monks, our convents, our families, our children. So the only way to defend ourselves, it's to be hand to hand, shoulder by shoulder with the Israeli Jewish people, because we have the same roots. The Christianity came from the Judaism. They are the roots, we are the tree. So this must continue forward all the time, because if we are not unity here, hand by hand, all the neighbors around us just want to destroy us. So it's not only they want to destroy the Jewish people. They want also to destroy and to finish also the Christians. Because for them, for their ideology, we are kufrim. Kufrim, that you are not belongs to their religion, you are different, so you should be killed.
You actually learned this the hard way because you weren't grown up with knowing the Hebrew language yourself, right?
That's right. It took me more than 5 years to learn the Hebrew language.
When you were grown up?
Yes. I will back to my school. My school, in the beginning, they used the Jordanian educational material. And after Oslo agreement with the Palestinian Authority and Israel, and the Palestinian Authority just come inside the West Bank, Judah and Samaria, they start to provide their educational material, which is not really far from the Jordanian material. And it's not including, even in schools in Jerusalem, the Hebrew language. So I finished my university with the first degree in hotel management and tourism. And I start my first year to work as a dishwasher because I don't have the language. I cannot be in a connection with my colleagues in the work. So I start to learn myself. I start really to give time because I figure out that it's important. Without the skill, without the language, I will find myself not working and jobless. And this is what effect on the Christians to leave the Holy Land and find another place to live, like South America, Canada, Australia, Europe. So this is really very bad. If they know Hebrew, they have a chance to really integrate and to succeed. And what told you my colleague Amit about the Christians, we have the chance here. He told you about Supreme on the court, hospital manager. We have a lot of sections that we could succeed in it. But for the Christians, there is no address. There is no association or organization that established to help them.
What I also find interesting is that you and Amit actually connect together.
That's right.
With the Christian Arab and the Israeli Jew coming together to help the Arabs integrate better.
Here you just touch a very sensitive point. It's a fake terminology to say about the local Christians here in Israel that they are Arab Christians. We are Israeli Christians speaking Arabic. If you back to my roots from where I came from, I know at least 10 generations back here, my family. We are, as a Greek Orthodox church, I belong to this church, again I'm saying it, we are the continuity of the Byzantine Empire or Byzantine Church, which is, we are here as the local Christians, we are the first Christians that they believe in Jesus at that time, that he's the Messiah. So on the 7th century, the Islamic occupation came from the south, from the Gulf area now, and they start to occupy all the Middle East, and they even get to Spain now. During that time, from the 7th century until the Ottoman Empire, which was before 200 years, 150 years from now, it affect on the language. We lost our original language, which was Hebrew and Aramaic. We also lost our traditionals, our heritage, and a lot of holidays that we celebrated as a Christians with the Islamic Arabic vision, that the culture just mixed. And at that time, when the Islamic came and occupied this land, there was for you, for un-Muslims, as Jewish or Druze or Christian, only two choices. The first choice, to pay tax monthly or yearly, and you can keep your religion. If you don't have money and you are poor, you need to convert, to change your beliefs and your religion to Islamic, to a Muslim religion. This is why you can see here in the Holy Land a lot of families that they hold the same family name, the same surname, and part of them they are Christian, part of them they are Jews, and part of them they are Muslims. So this is a real, it's a real ideology that it affects on the minorities, especially in the Holy Land, and it takes them to another view, to believe in another ideologies, to believe not in their book, not in the Bible, not to learn really about our roots.
Yeah, I'm sorry for calling you Arab Christian then, but that's...
No, it's important for me also. Yeah. You say it, it's a very good point that to give my view to the people around the world, exactly, to know what's the roots of the local Christians in Israel.
Yeah, and I love to hear you telling me that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will just wish you the best for the organization and the continuity. And we, as a Norwegian organization, I think it's very good what the work that you do, and I really like to be a part of the supportive background of your organization.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the Norwegian people, and God bless you, and we keep the faith and the hope here in the Holy Land.
Amen. Ja, det var altså det vi hadde for denne gangen. Tusen hjertelig takk for at du har fulgt oss gjennom dette programmet, og på gjensyn igjen neste uke. Takk for nå.